20 years, 2 decades has gone by. I call it a 20-year overnight success because sometimes it feels like I look up and like, holy cow, I can't believe how big this has become. But at the same time, I can, because it's like we always aspired for that outcome.
Talk to me about your origin story though, man.
Yeah, so grew up in Washington, D.C. Omar and I went to high school together. We became best friends. We actually met in detention, of all places. Summer before our senior year of college, we were home for summer vacation. His mom had a beat up cargo van. She was like, why don't you guys go borrow the van? And then she looked us up and down. She goes, you guys could be college hunks who haul junk. We just laughed about it at first and then just made computer printout flyers, recognized that people thought the name was catchy. They had a need for the service. And I actually never knew what the word entrepreneur meant until we started doing work for ourselves. And people were like, oh, you guys are entrepreneurs. And I was like, okay, I guess that's what that word means. And I think most college students would stop at graduation and go do something in the real world. But we decided to see how far we could take it. And we decided to make it a year-round venture and eventually franchise it to the point where we have 200 locations around the country now. So that's kind of how it got going. But we were doing all the work ourselves in those early days.
When you look back over those 20 years and that number, right, 200 franchises throughout the country, is that crazy for you? Or did you always know, hey, we're going to make this thing happen?
I think we were always ambitious and had a lofty vision of being a national brand name, creating an iconic brand. We could picture our trucks in every city, even when we only had one orange and green truck. So for sure, the vision was always out there. I think to have seen it kind of manifest the way it has, and the fact that 20 years, 2 decades has gone by, I call it a 20-year overnight success because sometimes it feels like I look up and like, holy cow, I can't believe how big this has become. But at the same time, I can, because it's like we always aspired for that outcome.
That's amazing, man. And so you probably started off initially doing everything yourself, right? You were the one carrying the boxes and hauling the junk and driving the car. And how soon did you sort of think about scaling this thing? There's a huge difference between one truck and obviously 200 locations.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell the story. We went and we bought a 1-800 number to make ourselves look like a national brand, even though we had the one truck. We put it on the back of the truck and it was still routed to our cell phone. So people would call to complain about erratic driving, and I'd be in the driver's seat and like, oh yeah, we'll fire those guys. We'll tell them to be safer on the road. Probably fired ourselves 3 or 4 times. And we burnt out a little bit because there was only so much that the two of us could do in a 24-hour time span. One of our mentors, he recommended to us a book called The E-Myth Revisited by a guy named Michael Gerber, who's actually the guy who we got to write the foreword for our book when we published ours. We tracked him down and just told him how influential he had been to us in our early journey. And it was like another light bulb moment for us. It was like the book was written about us because it was talking about people don't fail, systems fail, learn to work on the business, not in the business, have a long-term vision, and then to create the systems and the process. And then in that book, he also talks about franchising. So that was kind of like the first seed that got planted in our head. If we're ever going to have another truck, let alone another location, we have to document how we're doing everything ourselves, then hire people. And then we went the franchise path to be able to expand it, which was kind of what led us to move down to Tampa to begin franchising.
That franchise path, was that a long road for you and your partner to kind of question if that was the right call?
I'll say we were very naive. Franchising was a buzzword when we first heard it. And all I could picture was like McDonald's, and I pictured dollar signs because I heard the word royalty, and to me it triggered this notion of passive income. And I'll say it was nothing, passive about it. It was a very steep learning curve, kind of treacherous walk to become a successful franchisor. So I think we got into it a little prematurely for the wrong reasons, but we got involved with great mentors. We joined the International Franchise Association, so we were able to surround ourselves with other franchise brands in the service sector, not, what you might traditionally think of franchising like food or retail. And it was, I actually, a lot of times people reach out to me, be like, oh, should I franchise my company? And I spend usually the first 5 to 10 minutes kind of trying to unpack whether they could do it without franchising, because it's an added layer of complexity. We were no longer in the moving or junk removal business. We were in the franchise business. And now we were selling franchises, training franchises, supporting them. And until you have 50 or even 100 franchisees, the royalty stream you're collecting isn't really sufficient to cover your overhead. So you're so reliant on upfront franchise fees where we made some shorthanded decisions, selling the franchise to the wrong people, selling too much territory that we had to ultimately try to, pull back. So it's a it's a long march to be a successful franchisor. I think we've reached the other side, and now we're sort of prepping for how do we keep it building and growing and, maintain and, become beyond iconic as a brand.
And so how many states are you guys in? You said across the country, right?
We're in 41 states.
Damn.
Yeah.
So is I don't know, the short term or initial goal right now to be in all 50?
Yeah, being all 50, I would say we're probably a little less than 2/3 sold out of the country in terms of viable metro markets. So we want to, completely sell out of territory in the U.S. and then Canada, and then go deeper as well, be able to service more clients, not just homeowners, but businesses, long distance move, look at storage as an extension for our brand. So I think just kind of going deeper and wider is sort of our game plan.
Hey guys, if you want to watch the full episode of this clip, click right here. Make sure to subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you for watching.